Hello, hello. This is Pamela Topjian, and I want to talk about aging today. So today is my 59th birthday, and I never was worried about age or never cared about growing older. I always felt like I can't wait to be that wise old woman. Most of the women that I look up to are older women, and I consider like wise old women. So I've always kind of looked forward to that, and I don't think I'm there yet. So a lot of things that I'm going to say in this video might be similar to the one that is coming out on Wednesday, which I recorded earlier. And that one is all about life's changes. So I just decided to do one on aging, and some of the things might be a little different, and some of the things might be the same. But this is going to come out today on my birthday, June 23rd. So this is the first time that my birthday or the age I'm getting to that I really thought a lot about it. And it's not about being afraid of dying because I've never feared death, but I fear Alzheimer's. I fear not being able to take care of myself and be independent in that way. So it's not about the actual number or the years living or anything. It's more about the quality of life and not the quantity. So having, like I said, being independent, being your mind right about you, that's really important to me. And all the average life expectancy in the US is in the 70s. So if I'm nearing 60, and man, once you get past 45, once you get into maybe 50, the years fly by. So, 10 years from now, 10, 15, 20 years from now is going to go by in a flash. And so it has me kind of being reflective and thinking about what do I want to do now? If not now, when? And not talking about like big goals and big dreams, but more of like taking care of yourself fully, being fully true to who you are, living a healthy life, living authentically, just being serious about self-care, I think is really important. If you haven't before, if you haven't gotten into that before, then in your 50s is probably a good time to take that seriously. So that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now and thinking about aging is, being serious about self-care. And I'm pretty good, but I could improve. And I think there's going to always be room for improvement. So whatever I do in my life and however I approach self-care is there's always going to be room for improvement just because I'm human. And so one of the big things that's important is to keep learning, and true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. And that is a quote by Socrates. And that's so true. If you know that there's so much you don't know, then that is true wisdom. It's not about knowledge. It's not about education. It's about living life. How much life have I lived? If you're not happy with that, then you got to do something about it. Nobody can but you. There's a book, I think it's Richard Seaman, I think is his name. And the book is something about being spiritually reliable. So whatever you believe and hold true to you in your heart and soul, are you being spiritually reliable to yourself and to your heart and soul? So it's like a time of reflection, I guess, is what I'm going through. A time of, you know, yeah, just reflecting on my life and contemplating what next and where I'm going and what I'm doing and if it aligns with who I am. If you are the manager of your life, are you managing it well? Are you a good manager to be managing your life? And if not, you need to look at that. Turning 59 is like, oh, I'm so close to 60. And 60 is, you can kind of see, we talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like you can, it's like the opposite. Like you can kind of see that light might be closing before all that much longer. And as I said, I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of Alzheimer's. I'm afraid of some sort of disease or something, I don't want to suffer and I don't want to make my family suffer. I'd rather just die in my sleep peacefully and not have to have someone take care of me for the last part of my life. I'm trying to do all that I can for that. And I think I've talked about that in that other video, about life's changes. There's another quote that says, um, I know as a woman, I'm supposed to be afraid of getting older, but I love this shit so much. Every year I sink deeper into the bath of unapologetic realness, and it's amazing. And that is, I don't know how to say her name, so I'm just going to spell it. She's a Canadian author, and her name is Bunmiladitan. And that's a quote by her. And I have seen that quote many years, and I had posted it like on social media right around my birthday because ever since my 50s, so there was another video I did on from breakdown to breakthrough, and that's like more about like my whole trauma in my life, and then a major mental breakdown, and then healing from all of that. And so after that healing, after that breakdown and coming out of that, and that's right around age 50, 51, 52, right around there. Ever since then, it's been like, I'm so excited to be living life and to still be here. I felt so much that I might be losing my mind after that. And so every day was like a gift. And I know that sounds kind of, so cliche or whatever to say, but it's really true. Anybody that's been there in that space knows how that feels and knows the truth of that. So, talking about living life and being present and gaining wisdom, not from the number of years, but life experiences. There's a saying about people living like people growing up or raising your children like a hothouse flower. And that's really just saying that they're very sheltered and they're not able to weather the storms that life will bring them because they had grown up in this controlled environment. So it's very much like a hothouse flower. So I'm very glad that I've had the experiences that I've had. And I feel like, my mother has the beginnings of dementia, and my father died in 2007. But one thing I really want to make sure is that my kids down the road, or even later ancestors, have a good idea of what life was like in their ancestors, right? The families that came before them, the people, their relatives that came before them, because I feel like I've missed that with my mom and my dad. And there's so much I don't know and so much I wish they would have shared with me. So, I've said here before, I wrote a book. I wrote two books actually. So I feel like I've done that and I have left something behind that my ancestors, or me being the ancestor, right? So the future ancestors. So those generations that come ahead, after me, they will have something that they can look at and know what life was like for one of their ancestors. I noticed that since the mid 50s, that there's a lot more, there's arthritis, bursitis, I have anemia, I have glaucoma, and now I have cataracts, which they say, and everybody pretty much will have cataracts. It's not that uncommon. And glaucoma can be managed well. And, none of these things are major issues, life-threatening issues. And there's some other more personal issues that I won't get into, but so it's a time in your 50s that your body starts saying, hey, we're aging, we are more susceptible to things, and the joints and the bones and stuff. We've been around a while, and we might, cause you some pain, stuff like that. So I notice those things more now than I did even in my early 50s. It seems like 55, 56 was a turning point, just like 50 is kind of a turning point in noticing changes in your life. And when you think about life, that newborn baby 6 months later is a totally different, looks totally different than they did as a newborn. And then when they're 1 year old, they're totally different than they looked at their, newborn or 6 months. And then in toddlerhood, and you get up to the school age child, and man, that's a different person, right? And it's so cool to watch. It's so interesting and so great to watch this happen with our children. And then you get into middle school age, adolescence. Man, there's a lot of changes in adolescence, right? And I kind of feel like the later 50s, and I guess, I won't know about 60s for a couple years, but that's almost like adolescence. Like things are changing that you didn't expect, that you didn't know would happen. And it's just kind of, who am I now? What's going on? So this is, I think that that's a time of big change, just like menopause, I guess it is too. You have your newborn, your 6 month old, your toddler, your your school age kid, your adolescence, middle school, junior high, whatever you call it, and then high school, and then your young adulthood. And then from your young adulthood, even up into middle age, and then into later age, the stage I'm at now. So it's just kind of like a whole process of life. I don't feel like I shouldn't be reflective on it, but it really surprised me how much I have given thought to turning 59. And I thought I might do this at age 60, but age never bothered me, like I said, and I don't fear death at all. So I thought it might be like any other day or any other birthday. I didn't think it would be different, but I find myself reflecting more. Well, we have friends and family who pass away or going through major life changes. So the older you get, the more you experience that with your friends and family, people going through things that you know or that you grew up with. And so it kind of puts a different spin on things as well. So I don't want anybody to fear aging. I don't fear aging. I am just interested in learning about who I am at this stage in my life, who I am going to be the next 10 years, the next 5 years. It's so interesting. It's so interesting, not me, people. It's so interesting how much we change throughout our lives. And, to me, that's so fascinating, people's stories and people's lives and the changes that they notice. Do you fear death? Let me know if you fear death. Do you have this sort of fear of Alzheimer's like I do? That's my biggest fear right now is like, I don't want to lose my mind. I don't want to become dependent on others for my daily activities of living and caring for myself. Nobody wants that for themselves, but that's the kind of thing that weighs heavy on my mind on these days. So, uh, if you are watching and you've watched at the end and you found this interesting at all and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I do have a playlist on the YouTube channel here that has self-care, self-help, and vlog information and vlog, and that's what the playlist that this will go in. But I've been trying to have a video for that playlist on Wednesdays coming up. But this one is going to be today, which is Monday. So as soon as I record this, I'm going to edit it a little bit and then I will put it up on the channel. But I have Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners as a podcast, and those videos have their own playlist, but it's also on podcast platforms. So those have guests with, just as the title says, holistic practitioners, and there's some fascinating conversations there and a lot to learn. So I think that's part of aging well is learning more, keeping your mind open, and I think that I said that in that video about life changes, but that video coming up this coming Wednesday, so a couple days. And then the following Wednesday, I'm going to do one on the chakra system, only because somebody had asked me about it because I mentioned it in one of my videos, and somebody asked me if I would explain that, just kind of a basic explanation, I guess. So I hope that you'll check it out. I hope that you enjoyed this, just my little ramblings on aging. I feel like there's more that I wanted to say. I always think of different things I wanted to say after I'm done recording, but if you've got anything to add or if you have a suggestion for a topic of discussion, please put that in the comments and I would love to hear from you. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, hopefully this was interesting or helpful in some way.